Call the meeting to order. I ask everybody to please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm going to introduce the stage first, and then we'll go to the charge. To my right is the Board of Selectmen, Scott Hood, Chairman, Janice Livingston, Vice Chair. And to their right is Mr. Robert Pomfrey, Town Administrator. To my left is the Town Clerk, Susan Copeland, and the Planning Board, Jeff Tillotson, Chair, Ken Diskin, Vice Chair, Jonathan Krantz, Clerk, and Nathan King. Okay. And Town Council is Amy Questle for the Copeland and Page. Now I'll call on the Town Clerk to read the charge.
Town of Ayer Special Town Meeting Warrant. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Middlesex County. Greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the Town of Ayer qualified to vote in town elections and affairs to meet at the auditorium in the Ayer-Shirley Regional High School located at 141 Washington Street, Ayer, Massachusetts, on Monday, the 28th day of October, 2019, at 7 o'clock in the evening, then and there to act on the following warrants, articles. Hereof, fail not and make due return of this warrant with your doings thereof to the town clerk before the date appointed for said meeting. Given under our hands this first day of October 2019, Scott A. Hood, Chair, Janice L. Livingston, Vice Chair. A true copy attest, Susan E. Copeland, Town Clerk, dated October 2nd, 2019. As directed in the foregoing warrant, I have this day posted 3 attested copies in 3 public places, one of which was the Town Hall, at least 14 days before said meeting, all as in herein directed. Samuel A. Goodwin, Jr., Constable, October 2nd, 2019.
Okay, Article 1. Payment of prior year's bills. To see if the town will transfer from free cash and appropriate the following amount to pay unpaid bills of fiscal year 2018 and fiscal year 2019, as authorized under General Laws, Chapter 44, or take any action thereon or in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Hood.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $200.60 to pay unpaid bill for FY 2018 and the sum of $4,972.31 to pay the unpaid bill for FY 2019 as read by the moderator.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. This is going to be a disregard a 9/10 vote, so I'm going to ask everybody please stand up and hold up your hands. All those in favor, please stand up. Hold up your ballot, your card. Okay. I would say, in my opinion, it is 9/10, and therefore it is passed. Article 2, transfer borrow authorization for Spectacle Pond treatment, plant improvements for removal of pre-fluorinated alkali substances, PFAS, to see if the town will vote to transfer the unexpended borrowing authorization totaling $3,570,000 as voted under Article 14 of the May 14, 2018 annual town meeting, Grove Pond Water Treatment Plant. Improvements for the removal of PFAS, to pay for the improvements needed for the removal of PFAS at the Spectacle Pond Water Treatment Plant, or take any action thereon or in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Livingston.
I move that the town vote to transfer the unexpected borrowing authorization in the amount of $3,570,000 as voted under Article 14 of the May 14, 2018 annual meeting to pay for the improvements needed for the removal of PFAS at the Spectacle Pond Water Treatment Plant as contained in the article as read by the moderator.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Ms. Bedurtha. We get something coming down, Elizabeth. We get something coming down to do it. Yeah.
Is it on? Okay.
Yeah.
How much money are we going to pay for this in just interest?
Mr. Pomperant.
Mr. Moderator, Mr. Moderator, through you to Ms. Bedurtha. Article 2 seeks to transfer a borrow authorization. Town meeting in 2018 authorized the town to borrow up to $4,170,000 to construct the Grove Pond PFAS plant. Since town meeting has met, we are pleased to report that the United States Army, through the efforts of Superintendent Wetzel and the town, are going to pay for that plant. That's the good news. However, PFAS has been detected in the Spectacle Pond, and we have to construct a PFAS treatment plant for Spectacle Pond. So we are asking town meeting to authorize the remaining of that borrowing, which is $3,570,000, to start the process for that plant.
Okay, my question still wasn't answered, but the second question I have to that is, were there any test wells put in Littleton or at Sandville or anywhere like Grove Pond was so we could...
Actually, Elizabeth, that's beyond the scope of the
No, it's
article.
not.
Yes, it is.
Where's the lawyer?
There's no appeal. It's beyond the scope. It is not germane to the question on hand.
Okay, let me ask it in a different way.
This only is about borrowing money. That's all the question is. It has nothing to do with what's in the ground. It's only on borrowing money. It's to authorize the transfer of money from one project to another.
Then I'll go back to my original question. How much interest are we going to spend?
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Pomperant.
Through you to Ms. Bedurtha's question, we won't know the exact interest rate until we actually do the borrowing. We're asking town meeting to authorize the borrow authorization in this amount. At the time that that's done, town meeting's authorizing the Board of Selectmen and the Treasurer to do that borrowing. We would have the specific interest rate at that time.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Carolyn McCreary.
Ms. McCreary.
I'm just wondering, do we know the source of the PFAS and whether this is going to continue? Treatment's going to continue?
Again, that's beyond the scope. Yes. Any further discussion? Mr. Bedurtha.
I know what you're going to say, but I would not vote for this not knowing the questions, the two other questions that were answered. I think that is germane, but I wouldn't do it without knowing a little bit more information. I understand why we're doing it.
Okay. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's passed. The next motion is requires a 2/3 vote. Borrow authorization for Parks and Recreation Building. To see if the town will vote to authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow the sum of $250,000 for the purpose of funding the construction of the Parks and Recreation Building to be located at Peroni Park, including demolition and site preparation costs and costs incidental or related thereto. Any premium received by the town upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less such premium applied to the payment of the cost of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the general laws, thereby reducing the amount of authorized to borrow to pay such costs by like amount or take any action thereon or in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Hood.
I move that the town vote to authorize the treasurer with the approval of the Board of Selectmen to borrow the sum of $250,000 for the purpose of funding the construction of the Parks and Recreation Building to be located at Peroni Park, including demolition and site preparation costs and costs incidental or related thereto as set forth in the article as read by the moderator.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
So what is the building for?
You're going to address the microphone and stand up and be recognized by the moderator first, please.
What is the building for?
Okay, endorse your name, sir.
Ray Taylor?
Okay. Do we have a representative from the Park Department? Oh.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
I'm Jeff Thomas, Yale Parks Director, and the question, I believe, is what is the building for? This building has been something that we've been planning for over 2 years, and the funding initially was approved for it 2 springs ago at town meeting. We've ran into a number of issues with the construction of this building, mostly due to change in the bidding climate for municipal projects. So the initial amount that we had asked for, which would have covered about $500,000 for the construction of the building, which is for storage of the building and office space down at the Peroni Park facility, as opposed to where it currently is at Town Hall. So that is the purpose of the building, and the reason for the extra funds is the change in the bidding climate. We have received new bids for it after we put it out to bid in the summer, and the current bids that came in would require the additional funding to be able to have a winning bid that we can take.
Any further discussion? Ms. Schultz.
Ruth Maxon. We're still paying back a lawsuit that is requiring these $350,000 a year. We have 2 more years on that. Would we have to borrow money if we waited on this? Could this just come out of our regular funds?
That's
It's applicable. If I don't go borrowing money on my own personal things, I wait until I have the money. So I'm just asking if we should wait until we have the money. If we can get the money, if we're not paying off something else.
Actually, that question is not germane to the question on hand. It is not germane to the article. Any further discussion? Ma'am, please state your name and address.
Sue Kennedy, Nashua Street. I was wondering, since it's been 2 years, if there's any way to update us on the size of the building, any changes that have been made in the last 2 years regarding the contractor, exactly what we're voting on.
So the original building was a 2-story building that was supposed to be built into the side of the hill, if you're familiar with Peroni Park, where the basketball court was. That original building, once it was designed, came in at a ridiculously high number that we did not expect, over $1 million. So we asked the Sloan Associates, our architect, who put the design together, to redesign the building. So currently it's a 3-bay garage, 1-story, with an office attached to it.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
In the opinion of the moderator, it is a 2/3 vote, and therefore the article is passed. Now, the next several articles, I am only going to read the first paragraph. Okay? Article 4, to see if the town will vote to amend the Ayer zoning bylaws, section 10.1, open space residential development, by deleting the strike-through bold text and inserting the underlined text as written in the warrant.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Livingston.
I move that the town vote to amend the zoning bylaws, section 10.1, open space residential development by deleting the strike-through bold text and inserting the underlined bold text as printed in the warrant and outlined by the moderator.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Lori Nearing, I'd appreciate an explanation of the main parts of this bylaw, please.
Mr. Tillotson? All right. Oh, Mr. Archibald? Oh, Mr. Archibald, okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm looking at Cindy because she has a clicker that I will need. Huh? Okay, forward. Good evening, everybody. Okay, I just wanted to go over the process by which we are proposing these 3 bylaw amendments. We had a discussion at planning board meetings regarding some areas of the bylaw that needed tweaking, improvement. And we held public hearings on September 10th and on September 24th. The text of these amendments were made available at the planning department office, the office of the town clerk, and were posted on the Town of Ayer website. Okay, the first of these is to replace the lot calculation formula with the yield plan for subdivisions. So under the 2018 Ayer zoning bylaw, which was a comprehensive update, open space subdivisions, or OSRDs, became the by right or standard method of subdividing land. Historically, when subdivisions were done, you typically develop the entire area for house lots, and there might have been a little bit of area left over for open space. But under this bylaw that was passed in 2018, up to 50% of the entire area being subdivided must be preserved as open space. Now, this section came with a formula to calculate the number of lots, and the formula was considered to be the state-of-the-art method for determining the number of lots compared to the old-fashioned way of doing things called the yield plan. Now, in theory, the formula should result in the same number or very similar number of lots as would be possible when you're doing a standard subdivision. However, in the 2 cases that the planning board has reviewed to date, we discovered that due to the small lot sizes that are possible in Ayer, like 12,000 square feet in the A2 district, the formula, which doesn't account for the area taken up by roads, driveways, or infrastructure, results in a greater number of lots than would be possible in a conventional subdivision. And this has resulted in several problems. First of all, we have overcrowded subdivisions as a result of the formula, which results in smaller lots and over-reliance on shared driveways than would otherwise be necessary. When you have more houses, of course, you have increased traffic and wear and tear on town roads. You have a greater fiscal impact to the town in terms of servicing the additional homes. You have an increase in stormwater runoff and potential drainage problems, as well as the need to provide large stormwater basins to handle the stormwater. And lastly, we have constraints in setting aside the 50% open space due to the fact that people are trying to cram in all these house lots that the formula has said are possible, which makes it more difficult to protect the land that's most in need of protection. So in this example, this is just a pure hypothetical example. You see a yield plan on the left and a resulting open space residential development subdivision on the right. So the yield plan is basically an attempt to subdivide the entire parcel that's being subdivided according to the applicable rules of the Ayer zoning bylaw, the OSRD section, and the subdivision regulations. So what you would do in a yield plan is you would do a hypothetical conventional subdivision that you see on the left. The planning board would make a finding as to this number of lots as possible given all of the regulations, and then you prepare an open space plan that you see on the right, based on the number of lots that you would see on the left. So I'm going to go through two examples here. The names were changed to protect the innocent. In subdivision 1, we had a 10-acre tract of land with about 2.5 acres of wetlands. When I did a yield plan, which was an approximation, this was not engineered or anything, I came up with approximately 14 lots. When we applied the formula, we resulted in 26 lots, which is an 86% increase over the conventional plan. The plan ended up with 19 lots, which is a 30% increase over the conventional. In the second example, we have a 20-acre tract of land with about 12 acres of wetlands and steep slopes. The formula resulted, the yield plan would have resulted in about 22 lots. The formula resulted in 33 lots, which is a 50% increase over the conventional plan. And the actual plan came in at 23, which is very close to the conventional, which is a slight increase. So what we're replacing, this is the formula that we would like to replace. I won't go through it all. Despite all the text, it's actually fairly simple. But what we're proposing here is to replace the formula in its entirety with the yield plan approach, which has been used in Massachusetts for decades, and which will enable the subdivisions to have a little more elbow room in town. It'll allow us to preserve more open space, eat more easily, and result in less impact on town services and costs of the town. So that is a very quick summary of that warrant article for the formula. Mr. Moderator, that is my presentation for this article.
Any further discussion? There being none? Oh.
James Leon, Pond Street, Zero.
Yes.
Formula that's saying usually it's like 10% last housing, 15%, 20%. Is there an average that we believe there'll be less houses being built?
I'm not quite sure I understand the question.
Mr. Archibald? Mr. Toltz wants to answer.
Yes.
If I understand your question correctly, Patrick.
Speaking to a microphone?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so used to being a hockey coach. You can usually hear me. To answer your question, it's difficult to say what the reduction will be across all the lots. We didn't go through the exercise. But as you can see, the intention is to increase to 50% or more the open space, to gather the homes closer together on the property, and it will yield fewer homes per project.
But there's no like 20% range to 15% less?
The problem we have, Patrick, is what's the shape of the piece of land? I'm sorry, James. What's the shape of the piece of land? Where's the land located? What are the components of the land? Are they wet? Are they sloped? Are they paved previously? It's a difficult question to answer that way.
So it's piece by piece, basically?
Everyone is looked at individually, yes. And that's how this came up, and we'd hope that you'd support it and make for less dense.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator?
Ms. Bedertha.
I have a question. So I'm trying to understand this. Will this make it open space, a wider range, and the building lots a smaller range? So what I'm trying to understand is this going to make more condensed buildings next to each other?
Mr. Tillotson.
If I may, the intent is yes.
So you are going to have a lot more crowding, overcrowding with homes and a bigger space for open space, right?
We are going to create more open space for projects that this applies to. and hopefully the homes will be moved into the less valuable open space. In other words, we won't be building in the areas we want to keep open for different reasons. That's the intent.
Then I am right, you're offering to create a little more dense population with the buildings.
If you go outside of town, up the streets outside of town, it's more similar to that, yes.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Archibald.
if I may, a clarification. Actually, by going to a yield plan instead of the formula, we're decreasing the amount of lots. So actually, the density within the subdivision will be decreased over what it would be now by using the formula. So it'll be less crowding, a possibility of larger lots than smaller lots. So actually, it's giving a little more elbow room to the subdivision that will allow us to design things in a better fashion.
Can we go back to the previous screen, please? Okay. So, your plan for 14 lots with your formula would make it, the plan would increase the lots in.
Well, actually, using the formula on the example 1, the formula resulted in 26 lots on 10 acres of land. If we go to the plan, which this warrant article is proposing, it would be more in the line of 14 lots. So going from 26 to 14 is a reduction. So it's less density, less number of units, less impact to the town.
Then why does it say formula results in 26 lots?
Well, yeah, the formula, we're not proposing a formula. We're proposing to do away with the formula and replace the formula with the plan method of calculating the number of lots, which has to take into account designing the road. It takes into account in a better way the location of the wetlands, the location of the steep slopes and ledge. So it's actually, I think, for Ayer, a much better way of doing subdivisions because Ayer has such small lot sizes compared to, like Harvard, say, with 2-acre zoning. A formula works better when you have large lot sizes and very large tracts of land being subdivided. When you have subdivisions on 10 or 20 acres as an Ayer, the formula is resulting in overcrowding. So we're actually proposing less crowding by going to the plan method instead of the formula. This formula is just math. It doesn't take into account where the roads are and all that sort of thing.
Would this increase the number of shared driveways?
Actually, it should decrease the number of shared driveways.
All right,
Yes.
Any further discussion?
Sue Kennedy, Nashua Street. Is there a bonus density for doing an open space plan versus the standard?
Mr. Moderator, please, in this kind of question. Yes, there are provisions for density bonuses if you provide extra open space or if you provide a certain percentage of affordable units. However, we found that with the formula, everything is so maxed out already that there was no room to do any bonuses, even if it was warranted. So, I mean, because all the space was taken up by the house lots, and everything was crammed up against the wetlands, say. And so, by going to the yield plan, we'll actually have a little more elbow room, as I say, to do a better design, and we'll be able to use the bonuses when they're warranted.
So the town would probably like to encourage that versus the standard. Is there something in there to encourage developers to leave the open space? Because if they do a standard, then we have less open space.
Well, actually, the 2018 bylaw package, the open space subdivisions are considered now the by right option. So you would need to do a special permit in order to do a conventional plan. So actually, the incentive is there now, as passed at the May 2018 town meeting. So the rest of the bylaw is remaining exactly the same. The only thing we're changing is the method of calculating units so as to, free up some space, so to speak.
My name is Marion Stoddard, and I live at 204 Autumn Ridge Drive. And
I would like to thank and commend the Air Planning Board for bringing this article before the town meeting tonight so that we can help preserve the open space resources of the town of Ayer, and while at the same time protecting the town's water resources and other unique environmental services.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous, therefore it is 2/3 and it does pass. Article passes. Article 5. To see if the town will vote to amend the air zoning bylaw, section 2.0, definitions, section 5.3.2, and appendix A, table of use regulations, by deleting the strike-through bold text and inserting the underlined bold text as written in the warrant.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Hood.
I move that the town vote to amend the zoning bylaw, section 2.0, definitions, section 5.3.2, and appendix A, table of use regulations, by deleting the strike-through bold text and inserting the underlined bold text as printed in the warrant and as read by the moderator.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Fay.
Jim Fay, 1 Victor Drive. Under 532C4 addresses the maximum unit size of 750 square feet. And I think the intent, and I'm guessing here, but I think the intent of this is to allow our current residents to put on an attachment, thereby keeping a family member intact in the family. And then the house may in fact at some point pass from one family member to another, and the other member moves over to the smaller unit. But I dare say that 750 square feet is too small. And I'm speaking from the point of view that most of the folks that are in that category are still very active. And something more like Littleton at 1,000 square feet would be more adequate to the task. So I'm asking for an amendment to...
Mr. Fay?
Yes.
Planning articles cannot be amended on the floor of town meeting.
Say again?
Planning articles cannot be amended on the floor of town meeting.
Wow, that's a new one on me. And
That's by state law.
4 terms on the planning board.
That's state law.
Really?
Yeah, I got that from from the attorney last year.
When did that change? Because I
do not know. I just know town council told us last year when we had people trying to amend town meeting, zoning bylaws, that it couldn't be amended on the floor of town meeting.
I don't doubt
Attorney.
it.
It's my understanding that they can be amended.
Okay. Mr. Corbo said they can't. What?
Yeah, I gotta say, that's a new one on me. I did, what, 12 years on the planning board? I mean,
Okay. Mr. Archibald.
Yeah, Mr. Moderator, I actually had a short presentation on the accessory apartment article 5, which I wanted to give, and Mr. Fay beat me to it. So I'd like to request also that the presentation be put back on the screen.
Okay, well, actually, right now, Mr. Archibald, Mr. Fay has the floor. Okay, he's made a motion. Is there a second to your motion, sir?
Second. Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Pomerantz.
In consultation with town council, in a point of order, before we proceed, we need a recommendation from the planning board on the article.
Okay. Mr. Tillotson. Or Mr. Diskin.
Okay, as Mr. Archibald mentioned earlier, the planning board met and discussed these articles fairly thoroughly. And we had a number of discussions on the 750. And I believe as a board, we voted to approve the article as it was written. So we believe that the 25% maximum, the 25% number that's in that particular line and the 750 square feet maximum is what we discussed, and that's what we'd like to stick with.
Okay. Mr. Hay. Any,
Yeah, I'm aware of the planning board's position on the matter. I'm looking for town meeting to change it.
any discussion on Mr.
1,000.
Mr. Fay's amendment?
Go back to the moderator.
Oh, yes. Mr. Fay, we need to get the amendments in writing.
You need it in writing?
Yes, sir. Any further discussion on the amendment? Mr. Bridger.
I would just like to support Mr. Fay, because after I've considered doing it in the very near future, but after looking at the calculations of what we possibly thought of doing at my home, 750 will come up just short from what we want to do. 1,000 would actually meet that requirement, so what he would like to do.
Mr. Wenzel.
Yes, so am I correct in saying that I need a 4,000 square foot home to put a 1,000 square foot accessory apartment there? Because it can only go up to 25%. I'm reading this.
They're saying yes.
Okay, so there, it says not to exceed 750. It's a maximum, so that's the limit right now. Right, but what I'm saying is, you need a 4,000 square foot house in order to get up to the 1,000 square feet. At least that's
Mr.
how I'm
Moderator.
reading this. That's correct.
Okay, hold on.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Pomerantz.
through you, if there is an objection, the building commissioner could speak to that
Actually,
question.
building inspector, town official does not need approval, town meeting. He can speak.
No, it's a maximum, so if you have a 4,000 square foot house, you get 25%, you can do 1,000. If you have a 5,000 square foot house, you can't do 1,200 square feet. So it's two separate things. So if you have a 2,000 square foot house, you can only do 25%.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right, but
That's my point. I think you need a 4,000 square foot home to do 1,000 square foot accessory apartment. That's all I'm saying. I just want to make a point. There aren't too many 4,000 square foot homes out there. So you need a 3,000 square foot home to do the 750. Is that right?
that's the max.
Right.
Look at it two separate ways.
Right, that's my point. You need 4,000 square feet.
Okay, Mr. Wenzel, you're just repeating yourself now at this point. You want to get,
Well,
actually he has been answered.
So I am right then. 4,000 square foot home to get 1,000.
That's what he said, yes.
Okay,
That's what he said.
thank you.
I'm going to interrupt right now. This planning would like to have Mr. Archibald do his presentation. I'm going to clear up a lot of these questions right now.
Point of order, Mr. Moderator.
Yes, sir?
Rick Oddie, Oak Ridge Drive. I don't believe we've heard the amendment. Was the amendment just to change 750 to 1,000?
Yes.
It didn't affect the 25%?
No.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Diskey?
you said we've got an amendment, but we haven't read the amendment after it's been typed up and handed to you. Could you read the amendment for clarification? Handwritten, whatever it might be.
Amend Article 5, Section 5.3.2, C4, shall not exceed 1,000 square feet. Changing it from where it says 750.
Excuse me, Tom, does it include the gross floor area of the accessory apartment shall not exceed 25% of the gross? That's right. Excuse me, Mr. Fay, may I ask you? Do you intend to only change the 750 to 1,000?
My intention is simply to change the 750 foot to 1,000 square feet.
If I may, then it would read, and please check me, the gross floor area of the accessory apartment shall not exceed 25% of the gross floor area of the existing dwelling to a maximum of 1,000 square feet.
That's correct.
Thank you, Jim.
Any further discussion on the amendment? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Actually, Attorney?
Question vote?
Actually, I have a question for Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Or stand up, I mean. Hold your hands up. And you got my counters, please come forward. Actually, I'm gonna, okay, we're good. You guys are already sworn in, still sworn in. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye and hold your cards. If you're on the bench, back.
Are we voting on the amendment or this on Mr. Fay's?
This is only on the amendment.
For which, Mr. Fay's?
Mr. Fay's amendment. That's the only thing on the floor right now. All those opposed, please stand up and hold up your cards. You have voted 81 in the affirmative, 30 in the negative. The amendment is agreed to. Now we'll go back to Mr. Archibald and have him give his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. While we were doing all that, hopefully you read the definition of an accessory apartment, which is a It's intended to be a small dwelling unit within an existing single-family home, which could be located in the home itself or an accessory structure or a garage. It requires a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals. And the reason for these is to make it easier for elderly residents to stay in their homes by renting out a unit potentially to help with mortgage or property taxes, and for adult children to keep their parents at home instead of putting them in a very expensive nursing home or assisted care facility. Accessory apartments are designed to be compatible with the neighborhood and must preserve the overall appearance of the principal residence. They are not duplexes. Accessory apartments should be smaller than the other unit. And they must not stand out. They must be, as you're driving by the single-family home casually, you should not notice that, there's a small apartment in it. Some of the key features is the principal residence of the accessory apartment must be occupied by the owner of the property, and that's so there are no absentee landlords. It's been found that people take much greater care of their property when the owner is present, if there's a rental situation. This point was just amended, so it goes up to 1,000 square feet now. The apartments must have a separate bathroom, kitchen, and a bedroom, of course. And they're permitted by a special permit in all districts except industrial, light industrial, and healthcare services. And the reason that those are excluded is because new single-family homes are not allowed in those districts. And if you were to allow accessory apartments in some of the non-conforming single-family home in the industrial districts, you would be making a non-conforming use more non-conforming. So therefore, it is limited to the residential and the more commercial areas. Also, in order to ensure that these are operated according to the standard and according to the approval from the zoning board, special permit recipients must file an affidavit with the building commissioner each year to state that the operations are in compliance with the section and any condition of approval. This is to ensure the protection of neighborhood character. And that actually goes to the whole reason to require a special permit. Special permit is not a variance, the variance is when you try to do something that the bylaw does not allow, or you're proposing a setback that is less, or a building that is greater than the footprint that is allowed normally. Special permit really is just an extra layer of oversight to ensure that the proposed use will be compatible with the neighborhood within which it is located. When a special permit is applied for, the abutters are notified, which can be a plus so that people will know when these apartments are going in. If it was allowed by right without a special permit, there would be no abutter notification. Some pictures of your typical accessory apartments, say in this large house, many of which we have in here. You could have within the home itself, you could have over the garage, convert the garage to a dwelling unit. You might have a large shed or a carriage house on the property, or you could even, have it in the basement or in a restored attic. So basically, it's a fairly simple way. In Massachusetts, these have been in place for many decades in most towns. Ayer has not had these, though there are probably some that exist out there which did not obtain the proper permits. So what we'd like to do is bring Ayer into the 21st century by providing for these, which should provide additional housing that's affordable to residents and to elderly people so that they can stay in their homes and not have to move out. And Mr. Moderator, that's my presentation.
Any further discussion? Ms. Nario.
I'm in favor of this in concept. I have a couple of clarification questions. I think it's great that we make more affordable housing available for elderly and other people who struggle. My understanding is that the person who lives in the apartment does not necessarily need to be related to the person who lives in the main house. So you could be renting to anybody who helps pay and provide money for the main resident. Is that correct?
Mr. Moderator, through you to the question, yes. In fact, I believe, and I would ask Attorney Wessel to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's not legal to limit accessory apartments to blood relatives, as was done when they were first proposed, say in the 60s and 70s. Many towns did that. I don't believe that's possible. But having an owner-occupied property will help to ensure that things are on the up and up, so to speak.
A connected question is, could these accessory apartments also be used for Airbnbs?
Well, we do not presently have a short-term rental bylaw in town, and that's something that we need to do. We would like to regulate Airbnb since it's an up-and-coming use in the planning world. We have not yet addressed that. It's tough to say. I guess you could potentially do that, but we would prefer not to. And that's where the affidavit could come in, because they have to show that it's being operated in compliance with the special permit.
I'm asking that because I'm anticipating that as Groton builds the Indian Hills facility, there may be interest in people.
Okay.
Excuse me, if I may. As you guys can tell, we've been pretty busy at the planning board the last couple of years. Short-term rentals has been on my list to get on the agenda as quickly as possible. We have to make priorities in life, but I would hope that we'd be taking that up in the next year.
Mr. Pedrosa.
Just a couple questions maybe for Mr. Paul. So the way I read this is the yearly affidavit, and that's essentially to make sure that every year that the house is still occupied by the owner. That's the purpose of that. So they make sure that they have moved out in that year and gone someplace else and now renting both of them out.
Mr. Moderator, Mr. Berger, first question. That is part of it, yes. The owner occupancy requirement is one aspect of the requirements that you would have to show to the ZBA, and that would be a condition of approval. It might not be the only one, but certainly that's a key aspect.
So that in section 9, then, that would be the same reason when it's discontinued, due to death or sale, that would mean that the new owner would also have to be aware that this is an owner occupied, that they couldn't claim, oh, I didn't know that and I rented both of them. So this is a way to make sure that that happens. Is that true?
Mr. Moderator, to Mr. Berger, this question, yes.
Okay. And I guess the last thing was the special permit through the ZBA to the building commissioner. I think you may have said that's to assure that when somebody does do an accessory apartment, that it meets code, not like some of the developments happened in the past.
Mr. Berger, yes. My understanding is that there are many apartments built through the years that, decades ago, that perhaps did not meet code.
This would make sure that the building commissioner is aware and that things would meet the code, so we don't have to worry about fires from illegal electrical work and things like that.
Yeah, correct.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I'm Matthew Selby. I live at 49 Pearl Street. I'm someone who will most likely use this bylaw in the future. My father is 79. I've got a special needs sister who lives with him. At some point, one or the both of them are going to have to end up moving in with me. Despite the longevity that runs in my family, my grandmother died today at 106 and a half in 4 days. So at some point, I'm probably going to have family moving in. And as to the First Amendment, I don't think 1,000 square feet additional is quite enough. The way this is written, I would only be able to add 400 feet to my house, 1,600 square foot bungalow. So I would like to make another amendment to this bylaw, to number 4. I would like to add, change the 2 to an or, a maximum of, I guess it's now 1,000 square feet, whichever is greater.
Okay, sir, you put that in writing, please?
It's in writing.
The amendment? The GFA of the accessory apartment shall not exceed 25% of the GFA of the current existing dwelling, or maximum of 1,000 feet, whatever is greater. Has been moved. Is there a second to the amendment? Been moved and seconded. All those, any discussion on the amendment? Yes, sir. Planning board, Mr. Tillotson.
Actually, I defer to Mr. Diskin, please.
So could you read that again? It sounded to me like what you read is exactly what's in the bylaw.
The gross floor area of the accessory apartment shall not exceed 25% of the gross floor area of the existing dwelling, or a maximum of 1,000 feet, whichever is greater.
That's exactly what's in there right now. No? Okay. The gross floor.
Limits it to 1,000.
Yes, sir.
Jeff Mays, Pleasant Street. Out of curiosity, since we're talking about this 1,000 feet under the current, just so we can get some perspective on this, how many properties in town would actually meet the current 25% that would be able to do 1,000? Meaning they have to have 4,000 feet. I'm just curious, because that's a very, very large structure. Very large. How many properties are we talking about?
Mr. Archibald?
Yeah, Mr. Moderator, through you to the question. I would imagine very few. It's tough to say. I mean, we could do that research, but we did not do that for this evening. But I would imagine few.
So, but with the amendment, that places a tremendous amount of properties that can have 1,000 feet, which if anyone knows where I live, that's my entire first floor plus 2-car garage. That's a big piece of structure. Just saying.
Ms. Schultz.
I'm thinking of two instances where the elderly people are in their home. They can't climb the stairs to the second floor. The whole second floor could be converted and rented out to someone who would be a caretaker for them. But that would be the whole second floor. And this 25%, if I'm reading it correctly, the apartment, but the amendment addresses that. It says to whichever is greater, whether it be 1,000 square feet, or it sounds like they couldn't use the whole second floor for someone as a caregiver. They could only use a quarter of the building for the caregiver. So, and especially in Ayer, where we have a lot of older homes that with downstairs and upstairs like that, we don't have a lot of the ranch style anymore. But it sounds like this amendment would solve that problem. I don't think a whole upstairs would be 1,000 square feet, but it might be more than 25%. So whichever greater, I think is a good addition to this.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mike Hallel, Pleasant Street. Confirmation, with this proposal and, the now 1,000 or up to 1,000 square feet maximum, do we have considerations and provisions? I presume the answer is yes, but for confirmation, would there be a minimum maximum on the actual square footage of the property lot to ensure that there is no chance of encroachment or, other, frankly, inconveniences to small ones?
Mr. Schultz?
Yes, they still have to meet all the zoning setbacks for whatever area. Yeah, they still have to meet the town setbacks if they're in A2, A1, general residence, whatever it is, they still need that.
And Mr. Moderator, just one point of clarification through the attorney. If the accessory apartments get too large, they're no longer accessory. And the whole point is to have them not create a duplex zone by default, but to have a smaller unit than the rest of the house. So if it gets to the point where it's 50% or more of the floor area of the principal residence, it's not accessory, it's a duplex. So we have to be careful.
Ms. Bedard.
Mr. Moderator, I've lived in this town for more than 40 years. There's a lot of people that live, if you have first, second, third floor, they're all tenants, and that is the only place they can afford to live. If you increase it, Jim, by 1,000 feet, you are really messing with their ability to rent to these people that have nowhere else to live. What you're essentially doing is taking all these people that are hardworking people and not letting them afford a place to live in this town. And that's what I'm really afraid it will happen. I don't understand.
Mr. Archibald.
I would like to hear the question again, Mr. Moderator.
Oh, I'm sorry, I kind of tend to ramble. But my concern is that if you limit the square footage in your home, and you have it 25%, which was cool for me, but if you up it to 1,000 or even more than that, you're going to have any place for your own self to live, never mind someone else living with you. So that's my concern, and I don't think that's a good idea. Jim.
Mr. Archibald.
Yeah, through you to Mr. Roberta's question, yeah, that's a viable concern.
Yeah, it is. Jim, could you reconsider that?
Actually, Mr. Fay's amendment has already been agreed to. It's already passed.
I can ask him to reconsider.
No. The only way to do it is voting it down. Yeah, we got another amendment now going on, raising it to 25% or 1,000 feet, whichever is greater.
Then I vote to table this.
Make a motion to table?
Yep.
The amendment or the entire article? Hold it. I have a motion on the floor to table. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. There's a non-debatable motion. All those in favor of tabling the entire article, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. The amendment is not agreed to. The table is not agreed to.
So I just wanted to point out that on my amendment, which is on floor currently speaking, right? It's still a special permit process. So I just want to have 1,000 square feet or 25% of your own home, whichever's greater. It's still a special permit process, and as council said, it can't dominate the principal dwelling. I just think there should be some more discretion than I've got 1,600. That means I can only do 400. I think, as the first amendment said, 500-600 feet might be a little more livable as an apartment. That's all.
Mr. Moderator?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I just want to caution about expanding the sizes. I mean, the point of this change is to provide relief to allow people who need an accessory apartment to get one without engaging in de facto zoning changes. And I'm afraid if we start getting more and more expansive, suddenly you're turning a single-family home into something very different, which is getting into a whole another area that we haven't agreed to, the town meeting hasn't agreed to. So I just be very cautious about expanding the numbers recklessly.
I would just call for a vote on the town planner's proposal, the original proposal, and see who votes it up and who votes it down.
Okay, moving the question.
Try it again.
Okay. On the amendment? On the amendment. The amendment has to be, I'll go to one first. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded to move the question. And against a non-debatable motion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. It is not agreed to. Any further discussion on the amendment? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. I'm going to say no. It sounds like the majority is no. Okay. Now, back to the original article as amended. Any further discussion? Mr. Bresnahan.
Mr. Moderator, Kevin Bresnahan, Wachusett Ave. You went through those very quickly, and I frankly did not know which one I was voting for. Can we do a revote on?
Actually, no, the first one was,
I don't think you explained what people were.
the first one was to move the question. It was voted down. Nobody stood up to debate the amendment.
But then there was no explanation on the second vote? I did not know what I was voting on.
Question to vote.
Okay, question to vote. Is it a simple majority? My vote counters, please come up. This is voting on, this is on the amendment. There's only one amendment. Making 20. Okay. The one changing it to from 1,000 feet to 25%, whichever is greater. Mr. Fay's amendment has already been agreed to. That's no longer there. There's only the other gentleman's amendment. All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Or stand up. You hold your card up.
Where are you, Frank?
Ms. Bertha, point of order is on order at this point. Once we finish the vote, then we can. We're in the middle of a vote right now. All those opposed to the amendment, please stand up and hold up your card. You have voted in the affirmative, 29, in the negative, 65. The amendment is not agreed to. And we're back to the original article in the warrant, as amended by Mr. Fay's amendment. Yes, sir.
So the intent is to provide relief for senior housing, but is there any requirement that it be providing senior housing, or is that just a selling point?
Mr. Moderator, for you to the question, it's not a requirement. In fact, what I've heard for accessory apartment practice now is, because of the difficulty in getting high-paying jobs after college, it's often the adult children who are living in the accessory apartment.
Well, as a point of order, would you rather have them with their own kitchen and bathroom? Thank you for clarifying that.
Any further discussion on the article?
Igor Missing, 27 High Street. A quick question for infrastructure. Do we have the approximation just how much additional load is going to be taken on the sewers, on the water and so on?
I think that's a little beyond the scope of the question. That's what the impact is on the town's infrastructure.
Yes.
Do we have anything on that?
Mr. Moderator, no, but I would imagine it would be fairly low because many of these, the senior residents would probably already be living in town. There may be some, there would be additional water flow from the new kitchen and the new bathroom, but it's really tough to quantify. And we did not do that for this exercise.
Yes, ma'am.
Brenda Gleason, Howard Street. I feel really that might be hurting some people. Is there an appeal, let's say this passes tonight, is there an appeal process for special circumstances or special needs? Is there an appeal process to this? If someone wants to do something that's out of the zoning bylaw and is there a way to appeal to that?
Mr. Archibald.
Yes, Mr. Moderator, through you for the question. If somebody feels that the bylaw has written something that they would like to do, they can't because it's too strict or they fall just outside of that, they can seek a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals to do something that goes a little bit above and beyond what the bylaw requires. And they have to show that there's a hardship, that there's a good reason that they need to do that, as well as other criteria. But there is an avenue to seek relief from the provisions of the bylaw, so that exists now.
And who would that be up to?
That would be up to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Zoning Board?
Yes.
Does that cost a lot of money to apply for a variance? It does?
I was informed by Ms. Antonellis, who staffs the zoning board, that it could cost up to $1,000 or so to seek a variance.
How is this what if someone was to put on an addition and then do a little apartment at the same time? Would that be against the zoning? No?
As long as it conforms to the setbacks, you can do an addition. You can do an addition in accessory apartment.
I can hear you.
It doesn't like you, Charlie.
Yes, you can do an addition and accessory apartment as long as it still conforms to zoning by right, if this passes.
So we're not just leaving people out in the cold. The town will work with people if there's special circumstances.
Yes, whatever is by right, and then if not, as Mr. Archibald says, you can appeal it to the ZBA, who you'd be in front of for the special permit anyhow.
All right, thank you.
Move the question.
I heard some of you say move the question. Actually, if you're going to address the question, we don't do shout from the seats. Come up to the mic to be recognized first.
Mr. Moderator, motion to move the question.
Okay. Then moved and seconded to move the question. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. It is 2/3 and therefore it is passed. We move the question. That ends all debate on this question. Now we come to the article as amended by Mr. Fay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. It's in the opinion of the moderator, it is 2/3 vote and therefore it passes. Article 7, Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Mr. Archibald, why don't you start your presentation? I'm going to read the article and then you do your presentation right away. Then we'll get to the discussion. Okay. To see if the town will vote to amend the Ayer zoning bylaw, section 10.3, affordable housing, by deleting the strike-through bold text and inserting the underlined bold text as written in the warrant.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Livingston.
I move that the town vote to amend the Ayer zoning bylaw, section 10.3, affordable housing, by deleting the strike-through bold text and inserting the underlined bold text as printed in the warrant and is read, which will be read by the moderator.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Mr. Archibald.
Mr. Moderator, I am pleased to say that this amendment is not proposing anything new. Section 10.3, which was called affordable housing in the past, was passed by the March 2018 annual town meeting. The term inclusionary housing is a term that is being used in housing planning more and more, so we would like the title to reflect that. The main reason for this amendment is our housing specialist caught a minor tweak or I guess oversight in the bylaw that stated that density bonuses and other provisions for affordable housing only applied if you needed a special permit. But when you look at the areas where townhouses and multifamily housing are allowed, it includes districts where this type of housing is allowed by right, like in the general residence area that surrounds the downtown. So all this amendment would be doing is to clarify that the provisions of that section, which were already passed, apply to whether it requires a special permit from the ZBA or something that you can just do with a site plan by right. So that's basically it. There's a lot of language in the package, but all of that has been there, so we're just moving things around a little bit. We're not adding any formulas or requirements or standards. We're just clarifying that this applies to all townhouses and multifamily developments. That's basically it.
Any discussion? No?
Oh.
Planning board, recommendation?
The planning board voted unanimously to support this article.
Any discussion? Mr. Wenzel?
Yes, I noticed that H is crossed out, so it's a technical thing, but you need to change the I to H and the J to I and the K to J.
Oh, yes. Mr. Moderator, thank you, Mr. Wenzel, for catching that.
Mr. Moderator, this question's for the attorney. This question's for the attorney? Oh, okay. What's the difference between special permit and by right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything by right is allowed in the zoning bylaw. Anything with a special permit needs permission from either, whoever the special permit granting authority may be. It can either be the zoning board or the planning board. It depends on the section of the bylaw.
Wouldn't a special permit kind of make it not as easy to have all these homes so dense and next to each other? Would that be true for the attorney?
That's not necessarily a legal question, but a special permit requires a level of approval by either the zoning board or the planning board.
Mm-hmm. So then the by right would do what again?
The by right, you can get a permit from the building commissioner.
Oh, so it makes it easier if you go to the building commissioner to get that. It's almost like a variance.
Mr. Moderator.
I'm sorry, Mr. Moderator, I don't understand the question.
Mr. Moderator, through you to Mr. Berdorf's question. We're not proposing any change to the table of uses that was passed in 2018. So if you look in there, you can see townhouses and multifamily housing are allowed by right in general residence and a few other districts and by special permit and a few others. We're not changing any of that. In fact, if you still need to get site plan approval for multifamily through the planning board. It's the by right thing, and that's just to show that the parking is adequate, the traffic flow is going to be adequate, those sorts of things. Technical issues, stormwater, landscaping. It's still a by right use, but because it's more intensive than a single family home, it goes to site plan. Which is different from a special permit. Special permit, you're looking for neighborhood compatibility, there are certain criteria. But, you know, it's very difficult usually to deny a special permit compared to a variance. So we're not changing any of that. We're just clarifying that the provisions of this section apply whether you need a special permit or not. Because multifamily was allowed by right, as the attorney mentioned, in many districts. And that was an oversight, I believe, by the consultant who drafted the bylaw.
I just thought I'm expressing my concern about having so many houses so dense and next to each other.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, okay, I'm
This
done.
doesn't change anything.
Yeah, okay, I want a clarification, thank you.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous, therefore it is 2/3 and the article is passed. Article 7, Wetlands Protection Bylaw. To see if the town will vote to amend the existing Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Bylaw 26, by deleting the entire existing Wetlands Protection Bylaw and replacing it with the following as written in the warrant.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Hood.
I move that the town vote to amend the existing Wetland Protection Bylaw, Bylaw 26, by deleting the entire existing Wetlands Protection Bylaw and replacing it with the bylaws printed in the warrant and as read by the moderator.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. I believe the Conservation Commission has a article presentation on this.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I'm Jessica Gino, and this is George Bacon, who's the chair of the commission. I'm a lowly underling. I've been on the commission since 2008. If anybody watches our recordings, I'm the one who has the very soft voice. So you're all really lucky, as am I, that there's a microphone. At any rate, we're here to ask your support in updating our existing bylaw, Article 26, with a new bylaw. Ayer is a very water-rich landscape, and over 13.5% of the town has surface waters. That doesn't even begin to cover the land that is buffer zones associated to those wetlands. So our interest is trying to protect those resources while we still have them. We all know what our water resources are. We have ponds, we have streams, we have a portion of the Nashua River. We also have plenty of wetland green areas sprinkled throughout the town. So why are we doing this? We have a Wetland Protection Act that set minimum statewide standards that was passed in 1972. That is a one-size-fits-all across the state. What we're trying to do with a local bylaw, a stronger local bylaw, is to enable specific protections that fit our town and that meet the needs of our residents. Our existing bylaw, Article 26, is completely inadequate to this task. It was written, I think, a few decades ago. Nobody quite knows when. It simply mirrors the Wetland Protection Act. It has no teeth. It doesn't do anything for the town. It's outdated. Why we're doing this now is that Ayer has been facing continued increasing development pressure over the past many years. We are approaching what's called build-out, which means pretty soon, in a few decades, there won't be much left to develop. We'll be done. Ayer has the highest rate of development in Massachusetts, at least a few years ago, which means that what's left to develop are areas that are either very hard to build on, say all ledge, or environmentally sensitive areas, which is especially our wetlands. In 2005, there was an attempt to update this bylaw, which did not succeed. At the time, somebody said, well, a bylaw should have been passed 10 years ago. It's too late, all the horses have fled the barn. What we're saying, and this is a quote that you've heard a lot lately, you know, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, the second best time is now. The best time to have done a better bylaw was maybe 20 years ago, the second best time is now. And we are saying that there's still a few horses left in the barn that deserve protection. Vital services that are provided by wetlands. People have tended over the years to take wetlands for granted, and then we found out that really they're workhorses providing all sorts of free services. The price tag for not protecting our wetlands is much, much higher than if we protect them now. And I say one example that comes to mind is the PFAS issue, which isn't a conservation issue, but having discovered a contaminant in our water, it's been much more costly to try to attend to that. What we're trying to do is, for unforeseen risks to our wetlands in the future, we want to protect them now while we can, rather than wind up with much higher costs down the road. The vital services provided by healthy wetlands include water and groundwater preservation, resilience in the face of severe weather events. Wetlands provide storage for floodwaters. If you take away those wetlands, that water still has to go somewhere else, and that could be your basement, your driveway, or roads. Also, we've had, a few years ago, most people will remember the extreme drought we had. Wetlands store water. They provide a reservoir of stored moisture that during an occasion of severe drought, there's still some water left in our groundwater system that gives us resilience to see that difficult time through. They also provide pollution control. They're like giant sponges that filter out pollutants and sediments before they get into the water that when we turn on our tap, we all drink. They also provide wildlife habitat. I don't know how many here like to fish, but protecting our wetlands is also protecting that recreational pastime for fishermen, and then plenty of other animals as well. Now, beyond that wildlife habitat, there's also one other creature that enjoys the scenic value of wetlands as well as the recreational opportunities, and that's our species. I don't know how many of you like it, but I tend to like it. We did a very extensive outreach for this process. We sent out 3,752 postcards. Trust some of you got those. We had a special commission meeting just for this topic back in June. We've been putting updated drafts as we've revised it on our website and asked for comments, which we didn't get any, sorry. And we've had additional time at our commission meetings. We've also taken into account comments that were made a couple years ago that made their way into our revision to this bylaw. And so we've tried to listen to feedback we've gotten both several years ago as well as now. Two more points. What's in the new bylaw, just in case anybody was wondering. You think of wetlands as like the organs. You think of how do you protect the organs in your body, and this thing called our skin does a lot of that work. The skin you can think of as the buffer zone. So our bylaw gives increased protection to buffer zones as well, because without that, you're going to have your wetlands themselves suffering increased degradation, and eventually they lose the ability to provide all those free functions like filtering pollution out or providing good drinking water. So we need a good buffer zone. This bylaw would increase the protection that we could give to buffer zones as well. It formalizes coordination with other town boards so we can take into account perspectives from the planning board, from the building inspector, from the Board of Health, etc. It allows us the ability to specify exemptions and waivers for special circumstances, and also to regulate performance standards, especially for large developers. That, by the way, happens to save a lot of time and money. The more clarity that we can offer in advance, the easier the application process is for everybody. We've expanded the abutter notification for projects from 100 feet to 300 feet, which means you're all better informed, and you can come harass us at our meetings. It provides for requiring bonds on large developments. That's to make sure that provisions that were written into an order of conditions that allow a project, that a developer doesn't walk away before he finishes those points. We had one case, one development where the developer disappeared at the end. He sort of went bankrupt. And the town wound up paying for completing some of those points. So this would protect us all from that. And finally, it adds a category of minor activities, which we designed specifically for homeowners. You know, when you have decided on a weekend project, you want to dig up a shrub, plant a new one, or whatever, something small, a weekend project like that, you're not going to have to come before us. You're not going to have to miss that opportunity where you have the energy to do something. So we're going to be able to specify what those minor activities are, which would make it a lot easier for everybody, make this a user-friendly process. Finally, another benefit for residents is that when we protect our environment, our shared environment, it also protects each and every one of us in terms of our property values. So again, I have to say, it's much more cost-effective to protect these resources while they're still good resources rather than after they've been degraded. Finally, what the new bylaw does not do is it does not impact existing conditions or structures. If you have a backyard that's in the buffer zone, we're not going to say, hey, your backyard has to go away. If you have a deck in the buffer zone, we're not going to say, tear it down. So we're not talking about existing conditions or structures. It does not allow commission members to enter your property without prior notification or consent. It does not prevent new projects or development, but it will ensure, to the best of our ability, that those projects are done correctly with least damage to the environment. And finally, it does not prevent appeal challenges to commission decisions. So you still have recourse to challenge us. And with that said, I think that's all we have, and we would take questions or comments.
Any discussion? Mr. Bresnahan.
Hi, Mr. Moderator, Kevin Bresnahan from Massachusetts Ave. I'm all for protecting our environment and resources, but I have to say, I think what you've written here is just so restrictive to property owners in town. I mean, you're giving almost absolute complete authority to a small commission of people in town. You mentioned that, correct me if I'm wrong, that there is an appeals process, but the appeals process in here is to Superior Court.
Yes.
So if we have to appeal a decision made by a small group of people, anybody in town that wants to appeal it has to go before the Superior Court.
The way it's written currently, yes.
Yeah, so just like the question before, if there's an issue with zoning, then you have a right of appeal within the town, right, through a variance and so on. You can never have a small group of people with such authority that the only alternative is to go before a superior court. That should never be allowed. I think right now, the other questions I have, I appreciate the work that the commission does, I truly do, but they're also volunteers. I think right now, the appeal process, if I'm correct, is to the state land court.
Or Mass DEP. If we issue a decision or an order under the Wetland Protection Act, an appeal goes directly to Mass DEP, which can issue a superseding order of conditions.
Yeah. So one, that is an appeal through a state body. The people that work at those state bodies are paid full-time employees, professionals, that I think many times have helped even our own commission sometimes in terms of give them information. Our volunteers don't always have access to all the information that a state board of professional full-time employees do. So that's another complete base of knowledge that we should, as residents, we should be able to go to a state authority that has more access to information, they're professionals, to inform our own commission as well as have the right to appeal without having to go to a superior court.
Well, one thing that we have been looking into is if there is a middle ground approach to having to go to Superior Court. We haven't fully gotten an answer on that yet.
But as written, it's going to the Superior Court. If we pass this, going forward unless something else is put through, which I highly doubt is going to be done, for as long as we know, it's going to have to go to the Superior Court.
That's true, but that's in state law. We don't have control over that. Any town with a bylaw, that's how it
Well,
works.
no, right now, the process is we have the opportunity to go before the land court.
Right.
So here's the other thing, that as you've written this, it states that under all instances, the most stringent of all provisions in any regulation will be enforced. But it says right in here, you have to use the most stringent regulation of anything written. Why would that not be open to discussion and debate and, right, and work with people? You've written in here that you have to go by the most stringent.
Well, right now, the Wetland Protection Act is pretty stringent on most things, and so that is what we have been going by. What we're trying with this is to add more clarity, add more responsiveness to local needs. We're not by any means trying to cut into residents' rights or make things more restrictive. That's part of the purpose for our inclusion of the minor activities provision.
I appreciate that, Jeff, but it says in here, if there's another instance of something that is more stringent than the Wetlands Protection Act, then you have to use it.
Well, that's part of, yeah, with a local bylaw has to be stronger than the Wetland Protection Act, or it has no use whatsoever. And that's been supported by various court cases.
And lastly, you know, the buffer zones going from 100 to 200, I think they even saw 300. I mean, given the lot sizes of some of our properties.
Well, we're not changing the buffer zone to 300. We're changing the notification to abutters to 300 feet, which is the same for the zoning.
But isn't there also in here at least 150 to 200 that you'd increase the buffer zone?
No, we have not increased buffer zones at all. The Wetland Protection Act specifies a 100-foot buffer zone for wetlands, 200-foot buffer zone for streams, rivers, and streams. We have not changed that, and in fact, at our public meeting, which back in June, there were a number of people who said, why don't you apply the riverfront standards to other aspects of the wetlands? And we said, no, that would be too onerous. So we pushed back on that. We kept it as is. We have not changed that buffer zone.
Okay. Then one other question, it is giving you purview over the buffer zone as well, as written.
Well, most of the development now is taking place more and more in buffer zones. When you take away the buffer zone, when you strip the buffer zone completely, you're putting activity that can be really damaging to the environment right up against the wetlands. And that means their functions are going to be degraded over time.
Yeah, I just feel like, and again, I appreciate all that you do, but you know, stating that there's no appeal unless you go to Superior Court, I just think that would be a grave, grave error. I think you do great work, but I don't know how long you're going to be on this, and you're putting absolute authority in the hands of just a few people, unless you go to the Superior Court. And I think that, you know, it's too much for this. So I have real grave concerns about what a small group of people would be able to do from a control basis over everybody in town.
Well, I would always say you can always complain about each and every one of us to the Board of Selectmen, and they can kick us off. I mean, we're appointed,
in the meantime, that's not an appeal.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mr. Bedorfa.
Yes, thank you, David Erta. I guess I'll address one question. With notification, I was on the commission also for, I think almost 9 years. But in regard to one of these things, the requirement to go to Superior Court is not our town's requirement. If I understand this correctly, it's a requirement because we have a wetland protection bylaw that's going to help the town. That's a requirement by the state, not by the town of Ayer or the commission in Ayer. It's not saying, we've decided the only way you can appeal this is go to Superior Court. We're not saying that, the commission's not saying that. They're saying, we're going to have a wetland bylaw that will protect the town, and the state requires you to go. If that's correct. I'm correct in that, right?
Yes.
Correct. So it's not us, it's not this commission that is saying, we want to take this power and make sure you don't get any variance or any appeal to this. It's the state that's requiring that. And that's the state's restriction. We can't change that even if we wanted to. I just like to say, I was on the commission the last time that tried to pass. It didn't pass. There's been a lot of damage to the wetlands, to the buffers, to the waterways themselves because of a lot of different issues. This bylaw is going to start to fix that. If we don't do it, at some point, in my estimation, at some point, you will get the state, and you will get EPA, and you will get the Clean Water Act stepping in and forcing us to do stuff. And when you do that, now we're starting to get into the state, the feds, and everybody telling us what to do. And that's what we should be trying to avoid. We want to control it here, not let somebody else take it over from us. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Kate Salter, 10 Winthrop Avenue, and I just want to say a couple of things. One is Ayer is beautiful. Ayer is beautiful, and it is in part because of our beautiful, beautiful waterways. If you haven't paddled on Grove Pond or the Nashua, go out there. I've seen eagles and osprey, frogs and turtles. It's a beautiful town, and I think that the restrictions should be stringent as possible. We're talking about our water. We need that to live. And what we don't want to do, being so close to the Nashua, the beautiful wild and scenic Nashua River, which has just been federally designated wild and scenic, that should be a point of pride for us. And we don't want our surface waters to be the source of contamination of this wild and scenic river. So take some pride in your town. Have stringent restrictions. You know, and yeah, there's going to be some compromises we have to make. But we should stand up for this beautiful town that we live in. Not enough people see our town as beautiful. Our water is part of what makes us beautiful. And that's what I wanted to say.
Bonnie Tillotson, 15 Oak Ridge Drive, and Commission member. I need to respectfully disagree with Mr. Brejahan. This bylaw is stringent, but it's really not stringent. If you take a look at our mass bylaw that we follow at every meeting, the 100-foot buffer, you know, we try to do the best we can within the guidelines. You know, let's just take, for example, some of these big developments that are going on. I mean, building foundations 10 feet from a wetland flag? I mean, really, do we really want that? You know, when you build a house so close to a wetland, and, you know, unfortunately, homeowners don't really appreciate the function of a proper wetland. You know, a lot of leaves and brush and debris get basically pushed into that wetland, and then what happens? Like Jess said, basements fill up with water, you know, flooding basically affects roads, infrastructure. You know, this bylaw isn't really going to be super stringent. All we're asking is, you know, it's a little more protection of what we have already, you know, with build out. And, you know, by the way, a lot of adjacent towns have bylaws. You know, we're just trying to basically come into the new century here and protect what we have. Thank you very much.
President, I'm going to hold up on you. We got other people waiting that haven't spoke yet.
Well, then I do think I just want to correct one thing.
Okay.
Because Ms. Verdurtha said that it's not going to change the appeal, and this will change the appeal process. We currently, under how it's written now, we can go to the state land court or the other DEP.
Yes, DEP.
This changes it to the Supreme Court. We're doing that.
Superior Court.
Superior Court.
Mr. Moderator, through you to Mr. Bresnahan, it's also been pointed out, the zoning board, when they make variances, the appeal process for the zoning board is also to Superior Court. The zoning board is also an appointed board. State law has just...
I mean, right now, it's my personal opinion, and this doesn't mean that I hate water. I grew up on Sandy Pond, I live there now. So I love our wetlands, I love the town, I think it's absolutely beautiful. I just think we need more of a good appeal process than going to a superior court. So I just wanted to correct that. I do not think what Ms. Vidurtha said is correct.
I didn't say that.
Yes, sir.
Kevin Murphy, 20 William Street. I am at a disadvantage here because I am new to the town and I was not at the prior meetings, and I've heard a lot of people getting very passionate about this, but not any concrete information to help me determine exactly what you are changing. So is it really, is it going to change the buffer zones or not? Like, how would it actually prevent some of the damaging development that you have observed?
Under the Wetland Protection Act, we regulate, or Mr. Moderator through to, under the Wetland Protection Act, work in the buffer zone requires review and permitting by the Conservation Commission. Under this local bylaw, we add in the presumption that the buffer zone is important as a resource area in its own right, and it is then up to an applicant. And this is largely targeted as the big developers, but it's up to the applicant to prove to the commission that the work in the buffer zone is not going to be unduly damaging or permanently damaging. As it is right now, we don't have much ability at all to say, to protect the buffer zone more than just putting in conditions that minimize construction damage. But this could potentially allow us to put in more protections for the buffer zone so that, one example is Long Pond. I know several people, many people have read the pond report that we had done in 2016, which noted that Long Pond was a regionally significant example of a pristine pond, especially the eastern shore? Yeah, the eastern shore is undeveloped. What we would not like to see would be a developer to come into that eastern shore, currently undeveloped, undisturbed, and develop right down to close to the water line. That's the buffer zone. We would like to see that protected a bit further. Another example would be the open space residential, one of the open space residential developments that has just recently gone through over on Shaker Mill Pond. We were able, under the zoning bylaw, to prioritize protection of the 100-foot buffer zone around Shaker Mill Pond on the south side of it. We didn't have the right under the Conservation Commission bylaw to do that, but we could, under the zoning bylaw, prioritize that to meet the requirements of the open space residential development bylaw. But a stronger local bylaw for us would also give us the added ability under our own jurisdiction to provide more protection to, say, the shores of ponds or streams that have not yet been touched. And again, once those resources are gone, once they're disturbed, it's very hard to get them back. And we're running out of room, so.
Thank you for a very thorough answer.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep. Beth Sidmeyer, Nashua Street. And just first a question for clarification. There is no, what is often called no-touch zone proposed with this bylaw amendment, is there?
Not in the bylaw, no.
Okay. So I do want to mention that I really appreciate the effort that the Conservation Commission has gone to develop the bylaw amendment. I hope that we will support it tonight. It is long overdue, and I, personally would argue that maybe it doesn't go far enough in protecting the resources, but I appreciate the discretion that's been used here, and I think that it's very important that we go a step further and expand on the Wetlands Protection Act to protect the resources in town and give the Commission the ability to clarify the performance standards and the requirements. As Jess had indicated, it really helps applicants better understand the process, better understand the expectation, causes them to have the ability to streamline their process in a way. And I really think that in comparison to many communities, many towns around us, this isn't nearly as restrictive as what has been passed in many other municipalities. But I do think it is a huge step towards further protecting the resources that we so cherish in town, and they are so important for our livelihoods, for our economic well-being, as well as our health, and providing such great resources and open space activities for us as well. There are different performance standards for areas that have already undergone development compared to those that have not been developed, so that's one important thing to keep in mind. Also, that the actual buffer zones are the same jurisdictional areas as under the Wetlands Protection Act. It's just giving the Commission more authority to regulate in those areas. So the area that they're talking about regulating hasn't changed at all. It just gives them the ability to better protect the resources. And then, as Jess had indicated, there are waivers and exemption opportunities that they could develop through the regulations And they've also already identified one that very clearly states that for these kind of backyard landscaping projects, that there will be an easier process than going through the Wetlands Protection Act that they're proposing for undertaking those kinds of activities. So I really hope that we will have broad support for the article tonight, and look forward to moving it.
Yes, ma'am.
I was actually going to call for us to approve Article 7.
Make a motion to move the question.
Can I make a motion to move the question?
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor of moving the question, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
I believe it is 2/3, and therefore the motion is agreed to. We stop all debate and go immediately to the vote. All those in favor of approving Article 7, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. It's a majority vote. Motion is agreed to. Motion passes. Article 8, Community Preservation Act, see if the town will vote to amend its acceptance of the Community Preservation Act General Laws, Chapter 44B, Sections 3 through 7, inclusive. Originally approved under Article 2 of the February 15, 2001 special town meeting, and accepted at the April 23, 2001 annual town meeting. By increasing the surcharge on real property from 1% to 3% beginning in fiscal year 2021. Such amendment to become effective upon approval of the voters at the 2020 annual town election, or take any action thereon or in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Livingston.
I move that the town vote to amend its acceptance of the Community Preservation Act, General Law, Chapter 44B, Sections 3 through 7, inclusive, by increasing the surcharge on real property from 1% to 3% beginning in fiscal year 2021. Such amendment to become effective upon the approval by the voters at the 2020 annual town election as printed in the warrant and is read by the moderator.
Okay, Ms. Provodakis has a presentation on this.
Second.
Oh. Second. Moved and seconded. Jen?
First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I mean, this is what makes this town work, all right? CPC, to give you an idea, the CPA, it was voted on in 2001 at 3% in this town. 2 years later, we moved it to 1%. That money is controlled by us here at town meeting, and it's going to be also by the ballot. But these funds will go ahead and help out projects that happen within the town. As it says, that it's a surcharge on the property tax. So when you have your tax that you go ahead and pay, 1% added to that goes to this fund. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts also matches this fund. At 1%, we get one match. 3%, we get 2 additional matches. Oh, that's right, I gotta do this one. Okay, so in a nutshell, this is local monies that you all have control over, all right? It's to help preserve items in the, projects in the community. Again, the 3% has that additional funds that the state will match. Eligible projects are affordable housing or inclusionary housing, historical, open space, and recreation. We can go ahead and we can acquire, create, preserve, support, rehab, and restore items within those categories, but you can't really create, or you can't really, historical, they've got to be already in existence. So there's like little things there. When the funds get, that we take the funds in, they are required representation from 5 major boards in town. You've got historic, planning, conservation, housing, and parks and rec. These are members that have got to be there legally. So me being part of the Air Housing Authority, Jess being part of conservation, these are all members that are now active within the CPC. How have we been doing? We've been involved in this since 2001. So in the 17 years that we've had, this is how much money we've taken in. I mean, it's been transparent. We try to go ahead and make sure when people show up to meetings, they know exactly how much money's in our budget. I think we've done a pretty good job. I mean, I'm not going to deny that. Like I say, we were at 3% the first 2 years. We were being matched 100% by the state. Now there's 175 communities that have CPA. That has reduced that bucket tremendously. We took in 4.3 million approximately. We've awarded 2.7. So we have like a 1.6 million inside there. A lot of people say, hey, that's a lot of money. I know it is. But if we have open space where we need money to buy land, that's going to be gone like that. I mean, it's just basic facts. When you look at the chart of what we've spent our money on, you're going to notice the majority of it is housing. Open space, historic, and then recreation. Sorry, Jeff, I know recreation isn't that high, but that's because it started 2012 that we were able to start putting money away for recreation. These are the items that we've accomplished with the CPA funds. There's been over 25 projects that we've been able to do. Now, we funded 100% of this. We funded only 10,000 of it. All right, one of them is the dog park. That CPA funds were used as the community support for this project, and with that, we were able to get additional funds. If you look at up in here, you're going to see that Habitat for Humanity homes, Fletcher Street building, everybody knows Pleasant Street School apartments. You've got the senior housing there. You've got the pocket park that's right next to it that you can enjoy. People have even seen all the work that's been done on the new Air Community Gardens. These are things that we want to go ahead and continue doing. That little link up on top there, you can get more information about each one of these projects and how much money that was spent on those projects by going to those links. Okay, a lot of people are asking me, well, how come go from 1% to 3%? I mean, that's a big jump. I understand. Believe me, I'm a taxpayer too. All right. We got new fees coming in from the Registry of Deeds. That means Massachusetts has more money right now, well, by 2012, right, not 2012, 2021. All right. With that more money, someone's going to get it. If we don't pick it up now, we're going to lose out on that additional funds. So if we go ahead and increase just that 1%, bless you, 1% to 3%, we're going to get more money. It's like right now we get $35,000 from the state. We're going to go up to $170,000. That's a 500% increase. Never mind about the additional monies also that the state has, because they now have like $24 million in their trust fund. They're going to add about $36 million, which means there's going to be $60 million available to us. Again, if we don't go for it, someone else is going to do it. How's that going to affect us? Right now, an average homeowner, average home is what? I've got $332,600. We pay $45 a year. That's how much it currently. It's going to go up to $135, which means it's $90 more a year. Again, when you start looking at these monies, these are monies that we control here at town meeting. These are the projects that we control at town meeting. So these monies are being used here, again, by everybody who shows up here to vote on. A lot of people saying I can't afford it. Well, if you're a low-income individual or a senior, low to moderate, you can get a waiver too, that you don't have to go ahead and be part of this. It's an annual basis, you ask the town assessor, and they'll take you off the list. A little bit about the CPC. Again, we go ahead and we solicit the projects. We ask people, what do you see the needs of the community? Then we go ahead and make sure that it qualifies for CPA funding. It meets an allowable chart. We see how it's going to benefit the town of Ayer. We've said no. If it doesn't benefit the community, it's not going to, because we know it's not going to pass. And we want to make sure these monies are being used to preserve the diversity within. When you want, go ahead and we'll have public hearings for community input, and we recommend the appropriate projects for town vote. I want to go back here about the more projects could happen. One of the things we've been talking about, and I hear people talking tonight about affordable housing, inclusionary housing. We've been looking at, with the master plan, of having something of a housing trust. The Affordable Housing Committee is looking to see if we can go and put monies away on a trust. 2 years ago, we put monies aside for a conservation fund. We put $500,000 inside that conservation fund to buy open space, have that really available. A housing trust would be almost the same thing like that. We'd have to get it approved to have a housing trust, by town meeting. Then we'd have to have an approval to have monies put in there. But that housing trust can be used for first-time homeowners. It can be used for people for rental assistance. It all depends upon if you meet the qualifications. This is above and beyond a 40B or a Section 8. This will go ahead and possibly come up with new housing for seniors. Maybe little tiny houses that we could, put inside, certain neighborhoods. They have mass housing partnership that will allow us to work with nonprofit developers so that all these items can go ahead and be generated. Preserve more historical buildings, artifacts, acquire land for conservation, and also to look at park and playground support. Just because there's all this need, the community garden has worked out well, and I know I'm going to look at Jeff and say, we can probably do something with Peroni Park and the playground. These are monies that stay within the town. These are monies that the town itself goes ahead and approves. It's not something that anybody else is going to. You guys have the final say. And that goes back to this last slide here. You all have the final say. That's what's so great about this, because it's a win-win. When we go ahead and have these funds, we can't do anything without your okay. And that's what it's all about. Cindy? I want to just go ahead. I got one more slide. This is pretty much it, but I got one more slide because when you see that there are volunteers in this town, if you can go ahead and just bring up the other one, I want people to notice that there are so many people who have been working with us. These are individuals that have been part of the CPC over the years. And some of them are on the boards here and everything. It's like it doesn't work without these volunteers. So I want to say thank you to the volunteers and thank you to you all. And I'm ready for questions if you have one.
Is there any discussion?
Mark Phillips, Mount Laurel. Quick question on the...
Sir, just say your name and your address.
Mark Phillips.
Mark Phillips, 3 Mount Laurel. For the folks that do the waiver on the percent, does the state still match even though they waive, or no?
Oh yeah, it's the total amount that the state will match. Okay, so if one person says I can't do it, it's just you guys, it's just the one person.
Mr. Pedrosa.
Just, and she did cover it, but the important thing here is that, the CPC is recommending projects, they're doing due diligence and figuring out what projects seem to make sense, it's all public input and all of that. But ultimately, we, the people at town meeting, decide whether that money will go towards those projects or not. So there's no, there's nobody in town saying, hey, we think this is a good idea, we're going to spend your money. We get to, at town meeting, as long as enough people show up, we get to determine what happens with that money, and that's good. The other part is, I know some people will balk at the $90 more for an average home. But one thing we have to remember, some of these projects really need to get done. I mean, things that make sense for the town. So you're saying it's $90 more a month, but if some of these projects, new projects, are going to happen, then we're going to end up paying that money out of our taxes anyways. They're going to increase the taxes to pay for those projects, and nobody's going to match that money. So we, at least in this way, get matching from the town. But if we still do these projects, and whatever, half the, say $45 more per person, none of that money gets matched. So we really are losing money by not doing this. So obviously, I'm in support.
Thank you, David.
Mr. Maxim.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Back when our act was first enacted, I was delighted, not to mention astonished, that Ayer did this. So when we backed it back from 3% to 1%, I was disappointed but not surprised. But tonight I am speaking to keep it at 1% for the following reason: the example of the Taft property on East Main Street. If you've all seen it, with this gazebo right smack in the lot, shaded by beautiful mature trees, so on. When the owner first started talking about development, I went to see him and asked him whether he'd be interested to consider selling the development rights to the property. Now, development rights are a way of protecting property from development at cheap money, because you don't have to buy the deed to the property itself.
Okay, Frank, you're getting a little far afield right now.
Okay, well, this is a reason why to keep it at 1% instead of 3%, because the development would have been happy to consider it. I went to the CPC. They had no idea what development rights were. I came back to them with a little primer, half a page, and asked them please to contact the developer, the owner. They never did, either the owner or me. They blew an opportunity to get a very lot of HUD's value for a little bit of money.
You're very far afield. That's not germane to the motion.
Yes, it is, because we want to keep it at 1% because we don't want them to waste money this way. They have to be taught to use the money effectively. That's why we should have keep it 1% for now. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Fay.
Once again, I get to disagree with Frank. When, in 2001, I believe it was, when we first adopted the CPA, I was very pleased at the 3%. I also was disappointed greatly 2 years later when we reduced it to 1%. I think we missed a lot of opportunity for the funding that could have been ours, and I'm glad to see this article. Again, I'm in favor of it. Thank you, Frank.
Sir? The name and address?
Yes, Irving Rockwood, 27 Highlands, here in Ayer. I'm very much in favor of this proposal, and I'd just like to indicate a couple reasons why, a couple things that I happen to know about. I'm new to Ayer, but I'm a native of Massachusetts. I've long been glad to be from Massachusetts. I think of it as a progressive state. And on the whole, I think we are. But I would point out that I've learned in the last couple of years through some environmental work that here in Massachusetts, one area where we do not actually lead the country or display any leadership at all is in the area of funds, state funds devoted to recreation. It turns out Massachusetts is very far down on that ladder 2 years ago. It was below Mississippi. So this is an opportunity, CPC represents an opportunity to get some scarce Massachusetts state funds to apply to an area where currently there's a shortage of funds, and that would be recreation. The other area where it provides us an opportunity to obtain some funds that is otherwise hard to find is in the historic preservation area. And I've been involved with the Sandy Pond School project, and I realize at this point we have done a lot of work looking for funds, but we would not have been able to do what we have accomplished thus far without the assistance of the CPC program, and that little schoolhouse, as valuable and as iconic as it is to Ayer history, would still be looking for money in order to be able to do some of the absolutely necessary restoration work we've been able to do in the last couple of years. So I see this proposal as a way to obtain funds that can be used locally that otherwise would not be available to us, and I believe it's an investment in Ayer, and it's a sign of a thriving, lively community when we choose to make those investments.
So when I read this in the copy that was sent to my house, I was a little concerned because it sounded like we were promising to pay into something and then Beacon Hill was promising to pay us back later. And I don't really trust them to do that. So that's the first part. How do we know they're going to give us the matching funds? And second, the dynamic you described sounds very familiar to me from my experience as a project manager in a federal agency. The trick to getting that money when there's a dog pile for it is you need to already have projects ready to go in your pocket, and you can't really afford to go through the planning process at that point. You need to already have the plans approved and ready to go. So is there a way for the town to get together and have things pre-approved so you can just have them ready to go and jump on it and get that money if it's available? And I guess third, those two concepts don't really add up because either, are we fighting the towns? Are we fighting our neighboring towns for the money, or is it going to be guaranteed to us for paying into this fund? So just some points of clarification, please. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Kourakis?
Okay. First part, is it guaranteed? There's no guarantees in life, all right? I mean, you definitely know that. They started off with 100% match in the beginning. Now it's moved down to about 15%. With the additional funds from the Registry of Deeds, they're saying that it could go up to, maybe 25%. That's like, say, those additional 60 million, in funds now. They do say that in that trust fund that they have from the Registry of Deeds, it has the different buckets. One of the buckets is the CPA trust fund itself that will get funded. So which means there are monies that the state is giving the CPA communities. With us being a small town and having projects such as we do the housing trust, and the way the governor is now of looking for housing units that are close to the rail, the rail system and everything, we have a higher level in that decile of how much monies we get. So there's a possibility we can get so much more because we're a small town, we get small amounts of money compared to other larger communities that are at, say, that are at the 3%. And also to our projects that we've been doing, just like the new, the Central Fire Station on Washington Street. That's affordable housing plus also historic. Because of having that so close, we're going to be able to have that additional funds come in if they're projects like that. Now, again, that answers your first one. Are we competing with other towns? Yeah, we are. All right. If they're at 3%, they're going to get those monies that are available, and if there's more money available, they're the ones who are going to get it. We're not going to be able to get it. And I'm sorry, when you say, having projects in, already listed and everything, there are people who really want to come forward, but we've been asking for people to come forward for us to purchase land. I mean, we put out even a letter to the editor, articles and such, because if we can purchase, the land, then we'll go ahead and do it. I remember, when Frank was talking, Mr. Maxson was talking about that one purchase, and remember it was the gazebo that's down there, and I know that the gazebo, when we looked at it, it was gonna fall apart, but that's another story, of it's gonna hopefully be moved or semi-rebuilt and brought to the depot. So with that, we do want to go ahead and do that. So if we have projects already lined up, we do have people who do want to get projects done. So it's just an application process, and that's out on the website, and you can see what the application process is. All right. Does that answer all 3 sections?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but it unfortunately doesn't really sound like a good deal. Because we could be stuck with higher taxes and then get nothing for it.
All right, when you're saying stuck, just like we did before, you're at 3%. If things don't turn out right, we can bring it back to town vote and do 1% again. It's not that you're stuck with it forever.
Okay, let's do that.
Pardon? It's bonus. Oh, I know it's bonus money. It's sort of like your 401k, you know, when the company matches it.
Ms. Mays? Mr. Bidler to this first.
Well, just quick, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, and with Frank's discussion, I mean, talking about buying the development rights, unless I'm incorrect, the CPC, the CPA does not allow you to buy development rights. It has to be for those 4 topics of money. It's a great idea, but even if the CPA or CPC had wanted to, and he's saying that they didn't contact the owner, we can't do it. We're not, the CPC is not allowed to do it. It's not that they didn't want to do it, it's they can't do it. Money coming, if we go up to 3%, that money stays in the town. If we never get a match from the state, that 3%, the additional money that we've taken in, stays in the town. We don't give it to the state. It stays here, we can still use that 3%. And that's still gonna save us money that we don't have to pay on additional taxes for some of these processes that have to happen anyways. So, I mean, I don't see any loss. If you pay more money in, that money's going to stay here. The state never sees it. Doesn't, there's nothing there. That's never leaves our town. So we should keep the money. We should save the money. It's kind of like that.
Thank you.
Mr. Mays.
What's that? Yeah, I'm 72 Pleasant Street. I'm a blow-in. I've only been here 16 years, but one of the very first things I got involved with in the community was the Pleasant Street School. It was dilapidated. It was run down. It was either going to fall down or somebody was going to torch it because they thought it wasn't worth saving. It was so bad. Now you look at it, and it's one of the gems of the entire community, not just the neighborhood. The dog park, the Sandy Pond. Every time we use funds from this, or we use money from this fund, the entire town benefits. It brings people into our community. With that said, let's move the vote.
Is there a second? Dave moved and seconded. All those in favor of moving the question, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Guys have it? It is 2/3, and it passes. We now go to the article as written in the warrant. This requires a simple majority. All those in favor of the article as written in the warrant, Article 8 rather, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. It passes. Majority vote.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, Article 9, zoning bylaw amendment for the West Ayer Village form-based code, as written in the warrant.
Taking the easy way out, I see.
Yes.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Hood.
I move that the town vote to amend the Ayer zoning bylaw and zoning map by deleting the West Main Street General Business District and replacing it with a form-based code district, and amending all sections of the Ayer zoning bylaw, sections 1.0 through 10.0 inclusive, including all table headings, titles, etc., that reference the subject West Main Street General Business District throughout the bylaw, so as to accommodate the proposed new West Ayer Village form-based code district as necessary throughout the air zoning bylaw, section 5.2 table of use regulations, in reference to the subject West Main Street General Business District with form-based code district, and address allowable uses and requirements, and further to amend section 5.2 table of use regulations as on file in the clerk's office as printed in the warrant and read by the moderator. So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Mr. Minoy has a presentation.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yes. I just want to start my quick presentation here by saying I want to extend the appreciation from the Ayer Office of Community and Economic Development to the many, many residents, citizens who directly participated over the past year and a half, whether it's going to doing our public design charrettes, our public informational forums, our walking tours out on the corridor, many folks. I also want to thank the Ayer Planning Board who formulated this code in real time with myself, my office. That's something very special in towns. Many planning boards do not go that far, frankly, in literally formulating the code with the professional staff. So I just want to thank you. The product of what we have here is not my product as an individual. It's been a really community process to formulate this code and to lay out the vision. What we're going to show in this form-based code out on the West Main Street corridor is in accordance with, directly, and consistent with our new adopted master plan, with our municipal complete streets policy, with our new open space and recreation plan, and with the 10 principles of sustainable development, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That's why we're successful in getting so many grants to this town, because we really stay true to our principles and practices. Here then you see is the outer West Main Street corridor. You see that area there, which is sort of a salmon color. This is the district right now, the current general business district out there. What we're going to do then, as we did similar with the downtown and Park Street, we will be pulling out that. We're not changing the borders at all, or the parameters or boundaries of that current salmon-colored general business zone. We're going to pull that out and replace that with the new form-based code. And we're going to deliver a place, a real place, called West Ayer Village out there. What this is about is composing great streets. We all know the places we love the most are the great historic places we like going to, which, believe it or not, were all developed and built before there was such a thing as zoning. Isn't it interesting? Our New England ancestors knew very well how to compose great streets for people, and this is what we're doing basically, is we're going to make West Ayer, outer West Ayer, West Main Street, a great street and place. You look at this, we know it when we're in such a place. What makes that a great street? Oh, look at the building. What was that? Yeah, right, that is a cool car. All right. Ah, good point though. Right now on a West Main Street, you won't see cool cars like that parked on the street because we don't allow parking, and that's what made the place. The buildings, you see how the buildings directly relate to each other on the street. The buildings actually functionally relate to the street itself. You notice how those buildings form what we call a street wall. It's the buildings that define and contain that great space that we like being in with our bodies and spending time. And it's one interesting thing, folks, as I'm an economic development professional. The more time we linger and spend time in a place, the more we're pulling for our wallets and spending money in that place. It's just common principles. The more you linger and spend time, the more you actually use your disposable income in such a place. The sidewalks, the on-street parking, which protects you as you're doing cool things on those sidewalks. This is a composition. It's a great street. Why that father can be out there with his son, feel very comfortable in a place like that. So, what makes this place so great, a great street? Is it the uses going on inside those buildings? Oh, what? There are restaurants. There's probably professional office space. There's probably retail. Is it the uses in the buildings? No. It's the actual functional physical form that's resulting because of the way those buildings are composed on that street. They are built up closer to the street, which calms the traffic, which makes you then, as you walk up those sidewalks, you go, hey, look at that display window. And the person at window's waving you. It becomes a true place where you can interact and have a relationship. It's a functional thing. Guys, what we're talking about here is not, oh, you mean so it'll look nice? So, no. It's not about the way the street looks, it's the way the street functions and lives. That's what we're trying to do out there. Is this a great street? By the way, do any of you know where this is?
What's Concord?
Wrong. See, the smart aleck answer is, it doesn't matter where it is. It's any place and no place. Oh, there are hundreds of corners like this all over New England and places. By the way, there are the same uses going on in those buildings from what I just showed before here. Why is that a great street, a good place to be? And this you're saying, well, I wouldn't spend much time there. I certainly wouldn't walk around a place like this. It's not what the use is going on in the buildings, because right now all our zoning is really, most of it, the whole emphasis is, well, it's the use. It's the use. The use is, no. It's the functional physical form that's important in delivering place. What makes this different is the buildings are all pulled back from the street. No one can relate, the buildings don't relate to each other. There is no composition to this street. It's a space. It's not a place. We call this the economics of space. That is the economics of place. We've been doing this for quite a while. We had a big full-day visioning day a year and a half ago out on this corridor, invited all the property owners, the business owners, regional planners, many folks, and this is how we launched this process way back when. This is your zoning map. As many of my colleagues said in other presentations, what's going on in Ayer now is the world's discovered our little 9.8 square miles, especially people living in Metro Boston. And they're coming out, they want to live here now, and developers, hey, we're making hay. But as my colleague said, the land we have left for residential development is getting very tight and very dicey. I hear from many of the residents of town saying, Alan, I cannot believe they're sticking those 2 houses in there in my neighborhood. I can't believe the way they're doing this. We have to start channeling development, the new development that wants to come here, and Ayer is a pro-growth community, closer into the downtown center. Believe people want to live, guys, now in closer to downtowns and walkable places. This is what's going on everywhere now. So we need to channel that development away from our residential outer suburban neighborhoods and channel that development down where we have developable room and space, where our infrastructure already exists. You don't have to build new water lines. You do not have to build new roads. And we're going to channel that development right down to our traditional centers and where it's going to function best. Whoops. Okay. We're going to do this based on what we call a transect, and it's as simple as this. And I like this illustrative one. You see T6 down there on the bottom? That's like our downtown. That's the place where the buildings, you have the most building height, the buildings are closer together, it's designed walkable. As you get T5, it's a little less dense. Think of it like, guys, you throw a little pebble in a pond, and you got that tight circle in the center, and as you go out ring by ring, it's a little less tight and intense. So we're going to start working and developing our town based on this transect, do the denser development into the downtown centers where it's walkable, mixed use, where the infrastructure exists, and we got to start. And that's, by the way, everything that happened here tonight before me is simply reinforcing this development pattern. Okay? This is the current, our dimensional table for regulations. You see there in that red, I have general business. That right now, if I was a developer saying, yeah, I might want to do something out there in that West Main Street corridor, what can I do? This is the first thing you look at as a developer. And you just say, oh, all right, I need 100 feet of frontage, yeah. Setbacks, that's fine. Story, okay. It's very unpredictable. The setbacks, well, I can set it back like 30 feet, yeah. But can I set it back 50 feet? Yeah. What will it be? I don't know. It depends on what. There's no predictability to the development pattern or outcome. Form-based codes are prescriptive. Conventional use-based zoning is proscriptive. Conventional use-based zoning is all about, I'm going to tell you what thou shalt not do, and then we'll all kind of figure out what we actually want you to do. Form-based codes are prescriptive. They're saying up front, you all as citizens decided, this is the development pattern we need for our community to grow and sustain. It's prescriptive, so now you as a developer, you now can look at this and make a choice. Do I want to be in that development game, the type of development they want to do there, or not? That saves developers time, money, and it leads to a more predictable outcome for all of us. So here it is, guys. A great street? Or is it any place, no place, as I showed that other corridor? Yes, I'm being a wise guy because I'm okay. So this is what 30 years of use-based conventional zoning has brought to the West Main Street corridor. We have very little land in this town. We have to maximize our developable land. Why? All of you as residential taxpayers? If we go forward doing a sprawling development pattern, you all as residential taxpayers will be bled dry through time. We keep developing and spreading out, Mr. Wetzel is going to have to sand and plow more roads. We're going to have to buy, Chief Murray's going to say we need another new police cruiser and maybe a couple more officers because we've got to cover more territory and land. The chief might need another fire engine apparatus. You can't sustain that. We need to develop back in these areas and make the most of it. Where is that? It doesn't matter. Where is that? It doesn't matter. And then we go back to a place. What is the difference? What? Do you want to spend your time and money and live there? Or do you want to spend your time and money and maybe live there and do stuff? Okay. There is looking down, and even just looking down at this, from what you can tell, what is going on there? What? You can move it, baby. All right. Okay. All right. There's a visual journey, guys. Here's what our use, and I just leave you. Should we keep doing this, or should we try something innovative and new? All right, guys, the point here is developers are not investing in their properties out here. What we are getting out here is very unpredictable, the quality of the stuff. This is our gateway, one of our main gateway. Yeah, by the way, I like that. You need a machete to get through what are sort of sidewalks out there. And there's my dear friend Calvin's right there. A lot of people say, why? What is with the storage? Why is this becoming that? Calvin's right there. I said, my good. Why is this becoming the storage unit district of Ayer? I don't blame Calvin, because when you look at the development potential out there, what else would I do out there? Properties like this that are sitting, no one's touching them, and if they do touch it, we get businesses out there that say, yeah, I want to open something up, they come and go in 6 months. Properties like this that are not getting tenants, the owner's saying, please, let's do something new out here. We got to do something new. There it is. There it is. Oh, text. I won't read that because it's pretty much everything I've just been saying to you. Yeah, right. And back to the district there. Guys, in form-based codes, we don't use zoning maps. We use regulating plans. So what you see here, we go back to that little transect thing. We got 2 transects here. That middle part in red is going to be a little bit more dense. Right now out here, you can do a maximum of 3-story buildings. We're staying with that because, guys, what we don't want to do out here is we're not creating a second downtown Ayer. But we want to create a mixed-use, walkable, human-scale, traditional village, multimodal. So in that red area there, what we're saying is, by the way, the main thing here is right now you've got to set your buildings back 30 feet out there. With this new code, we're saying we want to see the buildings a little bit closer to the street as we sit to form that street wall and that sense of place. So now with this new code, we're saying you can build up to 10 feet close to that sidewalk with a maximum setback of 20 and 30 in the other one. So what we're doing, picture if you're a property owner out there, yeah, I got a building, and so you're telling me I gotta set my building back 30 feet, right? So I can't build a building there? Nope. Can I park cars there? No. So what do I do with it? Well, I don't know, plant mums or do something. We're actually giving more developable space through this code because we're saying, let your building get up a little closer to the street. Setbacks right now, the existing setbacks out there, you have to have 20-foot side setbacks. We're saying now you can drop that to 10-foot side setbacks between the buildings. You want the buildings a little closer there, that creates that continual street wall. And it's giving now the property owners out here more value and potential with their property. Okay. Well, guys, that's the code. This is what we're doing.
Okay. Before we go on, the planning board has to do a recommendation.
Jeff Tolson, Chairman of the Planning Board. The Planning Board recommends favorable action.
Is there any discussion on the article? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Article 10, street acceptance, Nashua Street extension. To see if the town will vote to accept as a town public way, Nashua Street extension in the town of Ayer, county of Middlesex, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, as heretofore laid out by the Board of Selectmen, as known on a plan entitled Plotting Plan prepared by Goldsmith, Priest, Preston, Ringwald, a copy of which is on file with the town clerk. Take any action thereon in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to accept Nashua Street extension as a town public way as printed in the warrant and is read by the moderator.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, therefore it is majority passes. Article 11, street acceptance, Norwood Avenue. To see if the town will vote to accept as a town public way Norwood Avenue in the town of Ayer, county of Middlesex, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, as heretofore laid out by the Board of Selectmen, as shown on a plan entitled Elizabeth Estates Definitive Subdivision Plan prepared by David E. Ross Associates, a copy which is on file with town clerk as written in the warrant.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Hood.
I move that the town vote to accept Norwood Avenue as a town public way as printed in the warrant and as read by the moderator.
Second.
All those in favor? Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? They are unanimous, therefore it is majority vote and passes. I understand Article 12 is being withdrawn. Article 13, street acceptance, Hickory Way and Hemlock Drive. To see if the town will vote to accept as town public way, Hickory Way from Station 8 and 5 Old Farm Way to Woodland Way and Hemlock Drive from Station 0.00 Littleton Road to Station 9 plus 50 in the town of Ayer, county of Middlesex, Massachusetts, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, as heretofore laid out by the Board of Selectmen, as shown on the plan entitled Ridgeview Heights Definitive Subdivision Plan of the town, of the land in town and Ayer, as prepared by David E. Ross Associates, a copy which is on file with the town clerk, as written in the warrant.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Hood.
I move that the town vote to accept Hickory Way and Hemlock Drive as town public ways as printed in the warrant and as read by the moderator.
Second?
Second.
The moved and seconded. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous, therefore it is majority and it passes. Article 14, bylaw amendment. Change date of the annual town election. To see if the town will vote to amend Section 3 of Bylaw 1, town meetings, by deleting the strike-through bold text and inserting the underlined bold text as written in the warrant.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Livingston.
I move that the town vote to amend Section 3 of Bylaw 1 by deleting the strike-through bold text and inserting the underlined bold text as printed in the warrant and is read by the moderator with said amendment to take effect on July 1st, 2020.
Is there a second?
Second.
So moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Bedard.
I have an amendment I'd like to make, if I can hand it to you. And moderator, maybe you need to even interrupt. So this could be either in Article 14 or 15, but since they're both,
you want to make the motion first?
I make a motion to change Article 14, Section 1, which is still written in the warrant. And I would like to change it after talking to some people downtown and to the state. It presently reads the annual fall meeting. I'd like to change that wording to say the special fall town meeting. And the state changed some requirements years ago and does not allow the town anymore to have, or any town to have, 2 annual meetings. It's just not allowed. So, and also, you know, so.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyone have a second on it? Yep. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, now you can discuss.
I'm sorry. So it's just, it's a very minor change, but the state changed their requirements. So you no longer are able to have 2 annual town meetings. You can only have 1. So let's put the wording in here presently that says exactly what we're going to have in the fall.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator, is this an amendment to Article 15 or 14? 14. 14 is regarding the election, not the annual town meeting.
It's written, it's in the...
Well, it's in the article, but Article 15.
The election is part of the annual town meeting. Mr. Maxim.
I'm wondering whether the town election under this new amendment will include the voting for the business items not to be scheduled.
Frank, are you addressing Mr. Berdoth's amendment?
Yes, I am. I want to know whether it includes the voting for the business items that have to be decided by ballot. Or is it just for the election for the people?
It's just changing the time.
No.
Okay.
Just a matter of changing wording.
Oh.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Parker. Mr. Diskin.
I was just going to ask for a comment from the Board of Selectmen on the amendment.
I'm sorry.
Changing of the wording.
Mr. Moderator, through you to Mr. Diskin, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Bedurtha's amendment is to Section 1 under Article 14 of just changing where it says, the second sentence where it says, right now as printed, the annual fall meeting shall be held. His amendment is to just change that to the special fall meeting.
I'm telling you.
With a motion made that accepted as a friendly amendment.
Mr. Moderator, my point is, that's the amendment made by Mr. Bedurtha, and other individuals are getting into other areas.
Okay, any further discussion on Mr. Bedurtha's amendment? Only.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Fay.
I believe David's correct in that we're only allowed to have 1 annual meeting. And it's a simple matter to change the word annual to special.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, therefore it passes. Now we go on to the article as amended. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? It's therefore unanimous and it passes. Article Article 15, bylaw amendment, change date and time of annual town meeting. To see if the town will vote to amend section 1 on bylaw 1, town meeting, by deleting the strike-through bold text and inserting the underlined bold text as follows. And said amendment to take effect July 1st, 2020, as written in the warrant.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Hood.
I move that town vote to amend section 1 of bylaw 1 by deleting the strike-through bold text and inserting the underlined bold text as printed in the warrant as read by the moderator, with said amendment to take effect on July 1st, 2020.
Seconded.
So moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. President is up first, actually. Okay. Mr. Mays?
I'm just curious, why?
Mr. Moderator?
Ms. Livingston?
To be honest with you, the reason why we're asking to finally ask the question as far as moving town meeting to a Saturday is because for years it has come up by residents such as yourself. It has also been pointed out that senior citizens or anybody with a night vision problem, this parking lot is very dark, so they're concerned that they're not being able to attend. We're never going to be able to get 100% happy, so what we're hoping is that by moving it to Saturday, maybe this will also increase attendance, because some people do still have that kind of standard Monday through Friday. Understanding, of course, that, you know, there's family, there's events going on, but if it's the fourth Saturday in April, since the weather's still kind of, we're hoping that maybe it'll work out that everyone can attend town meeting because maybe the weather will be so yucky you can't do anything else outdoors.
Mr. President.
Mr. Moderator, for what you should have. I'm just not for this because as one of those families on a Saturday, even in late April, so, you know, we have spring soccer going, we have baseball going, there's families will not be able to attend that, or you're making me choose between going to see a child play their activity or sport. There's plenty of people that are coaches of those, so they really won't have a choice. So I feel like you're excluding even more by trying to move this to a Saturday. And frankly, I just don't want to be doing this on the weekend. And then lastly, you do still also have a lot of people that travel on a weekend. So now you're asking people to choose between going to a town meeting or the travel that you can only do on a weekend because there's no school. So I think you're excluding a whole lot more people by trying to move it to a Saturday.
Mr. Miller.
Mr. Moderator, Chuck Miller, Calvin Street. I worked in the town of Lincoln for almost 20 years. They have had their town meetings on Saturday. And I can tell you, it didn't change who showed up for town meeting. As Mr. Bresnahan said, young families have young family activities, and families are going to prioritize according to what's important. So if the motivation is simply to get younger people or families or new people in a town, I wouldn't count on this necessarily remedying the problem. I'm not opposed to it, but I don't think it's necessarily going to fix things. Some people will show up no matter what it is, and other people, they'll have excuses for whatever it is. So if the plan is to change things in anticipation that it's going to happen, good luck. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm a young guy with kids that just moved into town. Please don't do this on Saturday morning. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. President.
I, like some of the familiar faces in the room, have been here long enough to know that this has come up before and failed, and pretty much for that reason. It's been my experience that the same 50 or 60 people show up, rain, snow, shine, whatever. We're gonna come and do our thing. So I don't think that Saturday, I dare say Saturday will probably decrease attendance.
Mr. Craver.
I really have no opinion, and I can't say whether we're going to get more people on Saturday or Monday. But I can say this: everybody who is here can vote for Monday because you're here.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Clearly, the noes have it. Amendment failed.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes, sir. Mr. Swanfeld.
Motion to adjourn the meeting. Second.
Move and second, adjourn the meeting. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? I didn't think so.